The advice and opinions expressed by the host of Autism Live and her guests are meant solely as suggestion and should not be in any way construed as child-specific advice. The Center for Autism and Related Disorders advises working with a board-certified behavior analyst who has experience with autism before starting any intensive behavioral intervention. Any choices you make in determining your child's treatment are completely at your own discretion.
Good morning and welcome to Autism Live. I'm Shannon Penrod. We're webcasting to you live from the Center for Autism and Related Disorders headquarters in Tarzana, California. So thrilled to be here with you on this lovely Monday. We haven't seen you. We had kind of a 3-day weekend. We were working, but we had a 3-day weekend here. And I didn't get an opportunity to wish all of you a very happy Mother's Day. Now, here's my take on Mother's Day is that, you know, they say it's a day, but I really think that the day is the warm-up and that we should all be very nice to ourselves for an entire week. And that's my opinion. And I will take criticism and praise for this idea, but it should be Mother's Day week. And since everyone had a mother, everyone gets to celebrate. Let's just all be extra nice to ourselves and to other people this week. What do you say? We're going to be with you live for the next 2 hours talking about things having to do with autism from a 360-degree perspective. You know, whether you are working with a child who's on the autism spectrum or you yourself are on the spectrum, there's a lot that is entailed in this journey, right? There are things that maybe other people just don't understand. There are challenges, and let's face it, life comes with challenges anyway, but then when autism is on board, sometimes there are some unique challenges. So we talk about all those things from, I think, we try to be as positive as possible to hook you up with answers and sometimes more questions, and especially information that can help you to get as far as you want to get on this journey. It's a different journey for all of us, but there are things that we, sometimes have in common with each other. So we will be talking about all those things, and we hope that you will interact with us because this entire show is meant to be interactive. So Emily's going to show you some of the different ways that you can be talking to us here on the show. And while she's doing that, I'm going to remind you that there's only one way to watch us live. That's www.autism-live.com. When you go there, there's a desktop and a white box, and it says questions we're answering right now. Now, it used to be that we only kept that active during the 2 hours that we were live Monday through Friday. We're doing a little experiment right now, trying to leave it open during the hours that we're not here, and you guys are writing in some really great things. So I think we might try that for a little while longer. But in any case, to write in that box, all you have to do is put your cursor there, type away, hit enter, and it shows up magically here on my screen. And that way you and I can be having a conversation in real time. And for some of the guests that we have on the show and the experts that we have on the show, you can be talking to them and asking questions. So I hope that you will take advantage of that. It's totally free. You're not having to log in. We don't have your home address. There's no credit card. It's just free. It's just good sense, right? So we hope that you will participate with that. We got kind of an exciting show for you today. You know, normally on Mondays we have Alex Plank, but he is not able to be with us here today because, as he mentioned a couple of weeks ago when he was last with us, he is working consulting on a TV show. There's a character, I believe it's on TNT. There's a character in the new show, it's called The Bridge, who is somewhere on the spectrum, and they have taken great pains to have it's on FX. Thank you, Emily. Emily's in charge here. Never doubt for a moment. I just talk, but Emily's in charge. It's on FX Network, and it's called The Bridge, and it's due out next month, and I've gotten to see a little preview of it. It's really interesting, and they've gone to great pains to make sure that they are very particular and authentic with how they portray this person on the autism spectrum. I'm not going to give away whether it's a male or a female. You'll just have to tune into The Bridge and see that. But Alex is on set today, so he will not be here with us today. today, but we have a lot of other exciting people that are going to be here with us today, so you won't want for things to talk about. In any case, we like to start every morning by first reminding you that I am not an expert in autism. I am a mom who has a son. He was diagnosed with autism at the age of 2.5, and he's about to be 10 in less than a month. I don't know where the time goes, but I have no expertise in autism. I don't even have expertise where my child is concerned. Like a lot of you, I'm figuring it out on a daily basis. So I'm very, very interested in helping all of us to sort out what's going on with our kids and how we can be more supportive, and meeting people who are older on the spectrum so that I am educated and that we're all educated in what we're looking forward to. And I really look at it that way. What are we looking forward to? I know there's a lot of stress, and Mondays we do talk about stress. So in any case, we like to start every morning with something we fondly refer to as the jargon of the day. This is the time of the day when we take one word, one phrase, one acronym, and we try to give you, first of all, the actual definition, because it's important to learn these terms in the context that they're meant to be used. But then we try to boil it down to something that's a little bit more specific, perhaps, to autism and to our lives, and give you an example of how that works. So our jargon for the day, Emily's going to put it up there. I believe it is EO. And this is going to be an interesting, because I didn't bring my glasses in here, Emily. But anyway, let's give you the actual actual definition of EO and see if I can read it from here. We're having trouble with one of my monitors because it's Monday and it's like that. Okay, EO, establishing operation, a motivating operation. Thank you, Emily. A motivating operation that establishes, in parentheses, increases the effectiveness of some stimulus, object, or event as a reinforcer, thus increasing the current frequency of all behavior that has been reinforced by that stimulus, object, or event in the past. Now, if you feel no closer to knowing what an EO is, come here, let's do a air hug here, because I remember looking at this the first time somebody talked about an EO and going, yes, that's as clear to me as what, mud? So let's look at our working definition and see if we can't make some sense of this. Okay, our working definition is some internal or external variable that makes particular reinforces even more reinforcing, thus increasing the likelihood that you will engage in certain behaviors associated with accessing those reinforcers. All right, we're a little bit closer, but let's back it up just a hair and say a reinforcer, it's like something that's exciting enough to you that you want to engage in that behavior again and again and again. So if every time you do your homework and do it really well, mom lets you have 10 minutes of video games, and if video games are really reinforcing to you, then chances are you're going to keep doing your homework and doing a good job on your homework because you want that 10 minutes of video games, right? Well, we have establishing operations that I kind of think of as supercharging the reinforcer. How can we make that reinforcer stay reinforcing and be really, really powerful? Imagine for a second that if the child gets to play video games all the time, and it's not on a timer, and they have free access to it, then saying to them, if you do your homework, I'm going to give you 10 minutes video game, who cares? I'm going to get the time later on, right? So one way that we have an establishing operation is that we can set up that the child doesn't have access to the video game for a while. Now, this does not mean that we're being mean and cruel and going, video game, you can't have it, right? But maybe we keep the child really busy doing other stuff so that they don't have time to be doing video games. I remember a certain trip that I went on with my son early on. Right after he got his Wii, and we went away for 3 days, and we came back, and the very first thing he did was kiss his Wii. Now, he had never kissed his Wii before, but he missed it because he hadn't had access to it for 3 days. So we can do this in smaller increments. So let's say that you know that video games is really reinforcing to your child. You want to set up an establishing operation where they're really going to want the video game. So all you do is you say, oh, we got to go here, we got to go there. Oh, we got to go to the park for a little while. Here, we're doing this. Oh, lunch, we're going to go to this play date, all these other fun things that the child is doing, but so that when it's time to sit down and do the homework, you go, hey, if you do the homework, you're going to get 10 minutes of video game, and all of a sudden, video game is very important. So we have an establishing operation. We can do this with all kinds of things. If we're trying to set up the child to do toilet training, for instance, then we want the child to need to go to the bathroom, right? So maybe what we do is we feed the child a bunch of salty snacks, and then they drink a bunch of water. Now we've set up an establishing operation where they're more likely going to need to go to the bathroom, right? That reinforcer that they're going to get for the bathroom, it's even more exciting because we're more likely to get the success, right? So establishing operations and motivating operations, we talk about EOs and MOs, kind of interchangeable. We're setting up circumstances where we're more likely to get the behavior and get to the reward. Okay, so you can supercharge the circumstances, or you can supercharge the reinforcer, but you're trying to make sure that you get to success. If you are often chocolate cake and you've already given them a whole cake, they're not going to be excited about the chocolate cake, right? Establishing operation, supercharging that reinforcer. I really think of it as, how can I set us up for success? That's really the way I like to think of an establishing operation. On the flip side, sometimes we inadvertently set ourselves up for failure. That day when you just do a little bit too much shopping and you don't get lunch in at the right time, or you didn't get to bed on time, or you didn't get your child to bed on time, and everybody's frazzled, and something that they could normally do, they can't do anymore, right? Because we haven't set ourselves up for success. So think of it as, how can I supercharge the circumstances? What variables can I take control of to make sure that we get success? That's establishing operations, having good stuff on board or preventing bad stuff from being on board. Okay, we always have a question of the day for you, and our question today that Emily's going to reveal to us is, what plans have you made for the summer? I know it's mid-May already, and some of you already have it all mapped out. I do not have it all mapped out. I'm desperately trying to nail it down this week because camps, this is the ideal time, right? In fact, it's a little late. If you want to get the best deal on a camp and potentially get a reduced price and make sure that you get in and get the seat for your child, you really have to get to it a little bit earlier or by now. So we're going to be talking about this with you, and I want to know, what plans have you made? Are you planning on going away? Are you doing any trips? Have you figured out what you're going to do? Have your services been diminished and how you're going to fill in that gap for it? Really important time, summer, and I think that sometimes we feel pressured. We don't want to feel the stress of that, but if we kind of get it planned out, it all flows a little bit easier. So we're going to be talking about that and more, because our topic of the week this week, we always do have a topic. Can you guess? Can you guess what it is? It is summer plans. Because you know what they say about if you don't plan, what is the phrase? I'm so bad. If fail to plan, you plan to fail. That's it. That's the phrase. So we want to make sure that we set ourselves up for success and set our kids up for success by planning. Does that mean that we're necessarily going to stick to the plan like, we're in the Army? No, we don't have to do that. But if we have a plan, sometimes things are more likely to happen. So all of that, very exciting. We're going to be talking about that with all of our experts this week, how we can plan for success. There's a very real thing in the summer, and it isn't just for kids on the autism spectrum, but if you don't keep up on the work that was done throughout the school year, they've done many, many research studies showing that kids lose ground over the summer. As I said, that's not just kids on the autism spectrum, that's all kids. And as a former teacher in the classroom, you could really tell the first week of school which kids had access to education and educational experiences, and which kids got to just run wild. Now, I'm a big fan of running wild and playing and being in the swimming pool, right? But you can use those times to be working on social goals and physical goals, right? Gross and fine motor skills. Really important, though, that we don't just let kids veg. right? So we're going to be talking about all of that and ever so much more. We've got a very exciting show planned for you, some of the different things that we have going on during today's show. We will have our stress tip because it's Monday. We have a guest that's going to join us via Skype from Kid Companions. You know, those are the bracelets and necklaces for your kids who have biting issues that I've shared before, that during a brief period of time after my son was doing the methyl B12 shots, he really had some biting issues. So we are going to be talking with, let's see how badly I can mangle her name, Pierrette Detremont. She will be with us via Skype during the second hour. But during this first hour, I'm so excited because it's the first time that we've had her on the show, a very good friend of mine, Joanne Allor. And I refer to her as the biomed mom. She's really an incredible woman and a very, very good, close personal friend of mine. And she's going to be talking with us about a bunch of different things that we can do, but we're really going to focus on cleaning up our kids' diets today. And she's a great one to talk with us because she knows a great deal about this and she keeps it simple. So she's going to give us some tips for that. So all of that and more. And of course, we'll be taking your questions all day long on the live feature. So if you want to ask something, now's a great time to do it. We're going to take a break and we're going to get Joanne in here in the studio. So stick with us. I'm Shannon Penrod, and we are here at the Gluten Free Expo. We're really excited about it. Can't wait to give you a look at all the tasty things there are to try. We are here at the Breads from Anna booth. You have been helping my family for a long time. So first of all, tell us a little bit about how this came to be.
Okay, well, I was diagnosed at age 16 with type 1 diabetes, and then in my 30s I got celiac disease, and a lot of the products that existed at that point just weren't working for me. So I made my first mix, which was gluten, soy, rice, and nut-free. And then my sister was diagnosed with celiac, and she has Hashimoto's, so she can't digest lactose, and she was allergic to corn. So I made a mix for her, and I had these 2 little mixes on my website, and then the autism community started reaching out to me for a yeast-free mix. And then my nephew was diagnosed with autism. So we have stuck to really trying to make our products as free as possible of the top 8 allergens. We're free of so many of those trigger foods that they work well for these kids. And the bean flours we use are pre-soaked, so they're easier to digest.
And it tastes good. That's the most important thing. It tastes really good.
And I truly believe there's healing that happens from the pleasure that you get from eating, and I want people to feel that they're not making a sacrifice by having to be on a special diet.
Where can people get them?
There is a store locator on our website, so you can check that out. And we encourage people to ask stores to bring it in if they have a store they like to shop at that we're not in.
We are here right now at the Bob's Red Mill Natural Foods booth. You know, you've heard me talk about them on the show before. I love them.
The 2 hot items are coconut flour and almond flour. They're just rocking because they please a lot of audiences. They've got the gluten-free. They please the paleo. They're not grain, so they can please a lot of audiences. And as far as the mixes, you know, we're always the pizza crust, the cornbread, and then our oats are still just right up there. So, and we have over 100 products now that are certified gluten-free. So we're trying to please all audiences with that.
We are here at one of the most popular booths, the Udi's booth. Tell us some of the things that might be good for a GFCF diet.
Perfect. So all of our products, with the exception of the cookies and the brownie bites, are milk-free, casein-free, and they're made in separate, dedicated facilities. So basically anything here other than cookies and brownie bites is good. For kids, the granola, because it's chocolate. And then we have things like double vanilla muffins that can double as cupcakes. And if you can do like a sugar-free frosting, milk-free frosting, then it's even better.
We are here with the author of Gluten is My and a very incendiary title.
Well, when I was diagnosed with celiac 2.5 years ago, my initial reaction was, "What are you serious that I can no longer eat a major food group?" It blew my mind, and everywhere I looked, I found inspirational, yay, yay, and I was like, this will not do. And I instantly started my blog, Gluten is my out of total craziness, and it developed into a book.
The subtitle of it is Rants, Recipes, and Ridiculousness for the Gluten-Free. So a little bit of everything then, stories and recipes.
Yes, it's personal stories. It's a guide on how to get through this time in your life. It's also, there's information if your child is diagnosed, there's travel information, and there's also a chapter on the future of gluten-free and what it means for all of us that are suffering through a lack of donuts.
We are here at the Enjoy Life booth. Tell us about what Plentals are. We just tried it, and it rocked our world.
Well, Plentals are a lentil-based snack, and the great thing about Plentals is 3 of the 4 flavors are dairy-free. So there's no gluten, there's no casein. All of our products are gluten-free and free of the 8 common allergens, which means they're free of egg, dairy, wheat, soy, peanut, tree nut, fish, and shellfish.
But it's not the only product that you guys have. You have a wide range of products that you guys carry, right?
That's right. We make 38 different products. Again, everything that we make is certified gluten-free as well as free of the 8 common allergens. So the great thing about Enjoy Life is when you see the Enjoy Life red logo on any package, you know it's safe, and you know it's safe for everybody. And, a lot of people ask us, well, how do you make it taste so good? Because if it doesn't taste great, no one cares. And so we like to tell them it's a little bit of magic, it's a whole lot of love that we're able to do this and replicate all these different flavors. So, for instance, we have a brand new line of decadent bars, which are s'mores, cinnamon bun, cherry cobbler, and chocolate sun butter. And again, all free of the 8 common allergens. The other thing with all of our products, they're all verified non-GMO. So we have the most gluten-free products that are verified non-GMO by the Non-GMO Project.
For more information about a healthy, tasty, gluten-free diet, make sure to watch our cooking segment, What's Left, co-sponsored by Taka. Welcome back to Autism Live. We are here with our very special guest, Joanne Allor. Joanne, welcome to the show.
Hi.
I'm so excited to have you here in person. For those of you who don't know Joanne, Joanne is a remarkable woman and a fabulous resource and a great mom, and she's a really good friend of mine. And we're going to talk briefly about how we met, but we actually, the first time we met, our kids were in preschool together, correct?
Mm-hmm. They were 4.
And it was a very interesting time in both of our lives, and we'll get into that in a minute. But as a result of that, we had a friendship that we struck up, and then when I started doing the radio show Everyday Autism Miracles, I said to her, I know a little bit about diet, the GFCF diet, and I know this much about ABA and getting ABA, and the rest of autism is this thing. I say it all the time here, I am not an expert. But you were so well read and had done so much research on, the biomedical end of things that I said, come with me. Because I've always referred to her as the Biomed Mom. That's my name for you, the Biomed Mom.
Thanks.
And so for 3 years, we did the Everyday Autism Miracles radio show together. And you were our reference for things like that on pretty much a weekly basis. And but so I'm unused to having her face to face, because usually we're on the radio and she was calling in, and but it's sort of thrilling. I feel like we're on a play date, right?
Without kids.
Without kids. But so all of that, and we're going to get to some of that, but we did just get a question, and I just want to weigh in a little bit and mention that it's okay for us to say that you at one time had a child who was on the spectrum.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So we've got a dad who wrote in and said, lost ABA therapy this month. Only way to get it back as soon as possible is private. They've got $, willing to pay anything, but at what price? Any suggestions on grants or help in California? Thanks. And we were just talking about this during the break. And, thank you for writing in that you're in California, because the first question that came up between the two of us was, well, there's Regional Center in California.
Right.
But you mentioned Is that who just cut their funding?
Right. It's because they have had their budgets cut.
Yeah.
And they're, aging kids out after 3 years, whether or not they still need it.
Yeah.
So that was the question if the regional center lost
Yeah.
funding.
So we kind of want you to write in some more information about who you lost your funding from, because in California, there are several different options. I mean, there are more options in California than I think there are in any other state.
There's a lot of companies that provide services.
Yes. And so Regional Center would be my first thing, that if you haven't already tapped Regional Center, that would be the thing I would ask. If they're the one that cuts your funding, I would fight that, depending on how old your child is and how much therapy they've had. Next question is, do you have any insurance possibilities through an employer, or is the employer self-employed, or there's no employer?
Right.
And then my next question after that is, have you looked into some of the gap insurance that goes, if you have an employer that's going to have to pay as of 2014, there are some gap insurance companies that will pay. So have you thought about that? And then, of course, we get into grants.
And the first thing I would do is just Google all the different available grants that are out there.
Yeah. Well, and I would also, there's two sites that I would encourage you to go to, Autism Care and Treatment Today, act-today.org. And then the other one that I really love now is italk.com, because they list grants and things on there. They have, they call them, it's something Tuesday Treasures, and they list grants on it every week.
That's great.
Isn't that awesome?
Yeah.
Plenty of information. Now, they grant iPads, but they're into telling people about everything that there is grant-wise. So those would be the two things that I would look at first. And then, of course, the other big grant place, but it's not, it's a $5,000 grant, a one-time $5,000 grant, is the United Children's Fund, but that's not enough to really kickstart your ABA. That's enough to pay copay for a year. So write back and tell us whether you've been booted from Regional Center, because then we'll know what to tell you next, okay? Or at least give you some suggestions about what to do next, because you can't let your ABA go if your child needs it.
Right.
Can't happen.
No.
All right. So, Joanne, tell us about how you got on this journey and how you became to be someone that I would refer to as the biomed mom.
And it was something I never dreamed would happen. When my son was diagnosed with high-functioning autism, I turned to the internet and started researching what causes autism. I wanted to learn more about it and what causes the body to have all of this developmental delay. So I came across a lot of information about what parents are doing with diets, and the GFCF diet, the specific carbohydrate diet, and of course Feingold.
Yeah.
Being the chicken I was, I chose the easy route and said, I'm going to do the Feingold diet, because
you say that, the chicken route, but I think the Feingold is really hard for most people.
it is. And I had a need to clean up my child's diet because I unknowingly was giving them a lot of additives and bad things for their whole overall body and their gut health.
I think we all do that in the beginning, because unless you're hyper aware, there is that feeling of, well, if it was bad for my child, they wouldn't allow it.
Right. You foolishly trust the FDA and the food manufacturers that they're not going to put bad things in there. But what it is it's always only tested for that one particular product.
Right.
It's not the fact that there's color in toothpaste and there's artificial flavors in that, and the medicines that you give, besides all the food they eat.
Right. So they're saying that the amount of food coloring in this
particular product
is not harmful to your child.
Right.
Because it's not. But if you multiply that times the 32 things that you give your child in the day, then we get into an area where it's no longer healthy.
Right.
And therein lies the rub.
Right.
That's where we as parents have to be monitoring that. The FDA is not going to monitor amounts for us. They're going to assume that you're not going to give your child an entire case of toothpaste and ingest it all in one time, right?
Right.
But essentially, if you're having those 32 products, you're getting into an area of concern.
So I had to learn how to read ingredient labels, and Feingold diet helped me with that, to look for all of the things that you don't want.
Yeah.
My general rule of thumb now is if anything that you're buying on the ingredient label has over 10 items listed, and there are a lot, then you need to start questioning that product. The next thing would be to look for all of the artificial colors and flavors and preservatives that are listed on there.
Right.
And get those out.
And we're going to go over a whole list of things that you can do because Joanne, you have a Facebook site.
Right.
Tell us about what that is.
I started a Facebook site about 3 years ago called Cleaning Up Your Child's Diet, and on it I will give tips for what they can do to look out for, tips of what to eat healthy, drinking water and eliminating the juice drinks and the sports drinks. I'll give recipe ideas of what to cook.
Has it really been 3 years? Because it seems like it was 5 minutes ago.
I know, it does. It does.
And then you also have a really great blog, too, that we should mention as well.
Yes.
Tell us what the blog is.
The blog is Healing Autism and ADHD. I have it on WordPress, so it's a long blog address. It's www.healingautism, and you spell out the word and, ADHD.wordpress.com.
There we go. And I think we also are going to have that on our Facebook site so that you can go to that as well. And I just want to say one little disclaimer as we're talking, because there are lots of different camps with autism. You know, it seems like there's the people who do ABA, and then there's the people who do floor time, and then there's the people who do biomedical. And what I hear from people over and over and over, parents, is why are there all these camps when it's everybody who is having really great success isn't just sticking to one thing, because they're looking at their child as a whole child and understanding that we know that ABA is very effective at teaching new skills, but if your child isn't healthy, how far are you going to get?
Right. They need to have a healthy mind and body to be able to take those ABA skills and catch up on their development.
Absolutely. And the difficult thing is that all children don't need the same thing to get healthy. There are all different pockets of things. That's why there are all different diets now, and there's different supplements that what is appropriate for one child isn't appropriate for another child. I mean, we have a really interesting circumstance that our children on the spectrum were the same age, going to the same school, living in the same community, and they are lovely together, but they couldn't be more different in terms of what they needed and what they had to have. And they're just different. They're individual people. And, you know, so when people gloss over and go, well, this is perfect for everyone, I have a negative reaction to that. And so just keep in mind that we're talking about things to do looking at your specific child. And giving you some ideas and some tips that are general things for getting our kids healthy, and then you can get into the more specific things, right? But so you started out and you've got a child with a diagnosis and you're Googling like crazy.
Started learning about it, and I realized I had an affinity for it and it interested me.
Yes, you have the brain for it, Joanne. When I want something explained to me, I call up Joanne and go, explain this to me. And it usually takes, 4 or 5 times before I get it?
You get it. Don't give yourself more credit.
No, it usually takes 4 or 5 times. It really does.
But that definitely was something that interested me. When I would speak to my husband about it, he would say, write it down. You are learning so much. Start writing it down. And so that's where the blog came up. And I started blogging.
And now with Facebook, with Cleaning Up Your Child's Diet.
I'm trying to reach more.
Yes, and it's a wonderful thing, and I've definitely referenced your blogs on the show before because you wrote a blog. It's my favorite blog where you say food color
artificial food coloring is
evil.
It is.
And it is. And you know what else I love about it is that you have a sense of humor, but you explain things in a way that somebody like me who doesn't have the affinity and doesn't have the big, I don't have an interest in all the chemical things. I just want to know the story. I want to know the human story. Oh, it makes my child behave in this way and they don't allow it in England. Okay. I'm done. I'm good. I don't want to know what the molecules do. That's a place. I'm sure I could understand it if I wanted to, but I really don't want to.
And you don't need to.
Right. And you don't make me have to do that. You give me the background so that I understand why this is something I got to be aware of, and you allow me to make the decisions for myself, which is sometimes not the best. It would be better if Joanne just told me what to do. But in any case, we should take a break, and then when we come back, you're going to give our viewers some tips on how to clean up their child's diet, right?
Yes.
And it's not going to be as painful as you think, because one of the things I like about what Joanne, how you talk about this, you talk about it sort of in stages, and being kind to yourself and
your child.
And to your child, and what's the best choice you can make right now with all the circumstances going on. All right, so stick with us. Back with Joanne Allor after these messages.
Hi, I'm Bryce Myler, and I'm the Contracts Director for the Center for Autism and Related Disorders. I've been here for about 5 years. CARD has several employees with many years of insurance experience, dealing with insurance, dealing with pre-authorizations, dealing with discovering whether there's coverage or not. So we have more experience than any ABA provider that I've ever come across. So for a prospective client, somebody that may be interested in, ABA therapy and what CARD has to offer, we have a special 800 number, and you call that number. They will talk to you about what we have to offer, how ABA works. He'll ask you for the front and back of your ID card, and then we check to see if you do or do not have coverage. If you have coverage for ABA therapy, we try to do whatever we can to set it up where we can bill for you and you don't have to fight with the insurance company every month to get your claims paid. For California residents, we recently did a series of insurance trainings all over the state, and you can click on the link below to watch pretty much the full presentation. It has a lot of information, how you can get your insurance company to comply with what they're supposed to do, understanding the networks, and many other valuable pieces of information.
Welcome back to Autism Live. Our very special guest here in the studio with us right now is Joanne Allor. We're going to get back to our discussion with Joanne in 1 second, but we had the autism dad who had written in before write in more information. My ABA therapy was lost during the transition of Healthy Families to Medi-Cal. Kaiser was the provider, but Easter Sales Bay Area was the ABA provider. I saw great progress in my 4-year-old with only 3 months of therapy, 10 hours a week. Kaiser wants me to pay 50% more than a regular child. This is the fastest way to get my spot back for my child diagnosed at 3 and being mainstream this fall, but I need more support at school. Okay, so I would say then if you haven't already tapped the regional center, this is the phone call that I would suggest that you make today. They're going to, here's the interesting rub about this though, because they're going to look at your insurance first, and in some regional centers, they're supplementing with the insurance. So I would also go on, Bay Area has a TACA group, don't they? I'm pretty sure that they do. I would also sign up today to be in a TACA, if there is a TACA group in the Bay Area, and ask on their website, does anybody else, because they'll have like a local group, ask them, does anybody else have Kaiser and have regional center, and what kind of luck did you have? Because they're going to tell you some shortcuts that are going to help you to figure this out so that you're not having to reinvent the wheel here. But 50% more than, I know a bunch of people have been caught in this thing between Healthy Families and Medi-Cal, this transition. Right. It's one of the things that we reported about 2 weeks ago. I know that there are great minds working on this, but the other thing that I would encourage you to do, honestly, is call Senator Darrell Steinberg's office and tell them what's going on. We'll see if we can get a hold of them too, because they're very interested in knowing who has been caught up in this cycle of laws were passed to help, but a couple of things have shut down along the way, and they're saying, we realize that there are some transition problems. We want to know what they are so we can fix them. So I would put in a call to Senator Darrell Steinberg's office and say, help me now. They're very influential right now with autism and making sure that the right things happen. The other thing that I'm concerned about is if you've got a 3-year-old and 10 hours a week is sounding slim to me. And so I would love to talk more with you about who did your assessment. Was it somebody who was tied to the funding source? If we had our assessment. I was in Kaiser when my son was diagnosed, and so
I was too.
Really, and I wonder if our children were diagnosed by the same people. Dr. Brill.
No.
I'm dropping names here. But in any case, at that time, Kaiser wasn't covering ABA.
No.
So they weren't tied to the funding source. Right. But now that they are, it'd be very interesting to know, did you have your diagnosis through Kaiser? Probably. And it might be interesting to get a second opinion about how many hours, because a 3-year-old, 4-year-old, diagnosed at 3, but a 4-year-old, 10 hours a week does not sound like enough to me. We know that the most effective window is 25 to 40, so and that's up to 5 years of age. So 10 hours it sounds like a half a penicillin pill to me.
And he also mentioned about his child starting school.
Yeah,
And that's where he needs to talk to his school district about starting an IEP.
Yes, absolutely. That's probably in progress, and I would think if you're for that's in progress. And you mentioned that you want some more support at school.
Right.
Sometimes,
like an aide.
yeah. Sometimes the school will provide an aide. You want to make sure that they're properly trained, and that the goals are really clearly there, and that you have somebody observing it. But sometimes insurance now is paying for an aide. I wonder if Kaiser is, though. Don't know about that. But that's something that you could apply for a grant for as well, depending on, are you going to private school or public school? See, there's so many questions. So many considerations. Okay. All right. So we're going to talk a little bit about that, and you can get back to us. But if you need a regional center number, let us know, because we can hunt down what the regional center for Bay Area is. But I would...
Health and Human Services websites list the regional centers.
Do they?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so Health and Human
California's
Services.
Department of Health and Human Services.
Okay, there we go. So let us know if you need some help and support with, but regional center is supposed to be working towards picking up the slack if your insurance won't cover. And if you haven't tapped the regional center yet, you need to while you can. Okay. So let us know if that's helpful, and we can keep talking more about that. We also had another question that came in more about Biomed, and they said, hello, happy Mother's Day. And I didn't say that to you. Happy Mother's Day.
Happy Mother's Day to you.
Question for your guest. Is there any specific blood work that a doctor could order to have a better picture of my child's current intoxication status? So to work on things more urgent first. My daughter definitely has a reaction to some food, so we are looking into starting the GFCF diet. Thank you. Sure. So blood work, of course, there's lots of different things.
There's a lot of labs that would provide the organic acids profile test.
Yeah.
And that's blood work or urine work.
Yeah.
And it'll tell them a lot about the child's body.
Can you get the organic, because that's the OAT test, right? But you can't get that through just like going to your regular pediatrician, can you?
The website, some of the labs will send the kits to your home.
Oh, okay.
And then you have to go to a lab that will process that particular test.
Okay.
You find your local lab, and then you'll get it processed. But you need a doctor to interpret what it means.
Right.
That's where you'll run into trouble.
Okay. And then we're typically looking at a MAPS doctor or one of the old Dan doctors. Dan doesn't really exist anymore, but there were doctors who were certified through Dan.
Right. That are still out there.
And it depends on, if you write into us and let us know where you are, we can give you some ideas. But you can also go to the MAPS.
Right.
Medmaps.org, I think is...
I think so.
Yeah, I think it's medmaps.org.
And if there's food allergy concerns, Aletnis Labs, aletnis.com, I believe.
Okay.
They have kits for doing the food allergy testing.
Great. See what a great resource you are? This is why I called Joanne. Okay, so you were going to give us some ideas of things that we can do to clean up our child's diet.
Oh, right.
Yes, remember that way back then? Okay. So if we're starting, it used to be that everybody started with GFCF.
Right.
Now, that isn't necessarily the only place you can start, right? What do you recommend starting with?
Well, the GFCF diet, I think before you do that, it's important to make sure that you've cleaned up the diet of all the artificial ingredients.
Okay.
And if you're concerned about what are artificial ingredients, look at your Gatorade bottle, and you'll see the FD&C number die on there, whether it's 6 or red 40. High fructose corn syrup is an artificial ingredient and very bad for your digestive tract.
Okay.
Then anything that says artificial flavors.
Yeah.
Anything that says it's listed as a preservative, and a great resource is Feingold that will tell you what those types of preservatives are.
Okay.
There's some technical names out there, so it's hard to know.
But starting with all of that, reading the labels and figuring out, okay, what am I feeding my child or feeding myself right now?
Right. Go through your pantry.
Yeah.
What do we have in here? Oh.
It's a really depressing day. Because you might think that you're doing a really good job, and then you go and you go, oh my goodness, I didn't know that was in that, right?
Right.
It's scary.
Right. It is. And you set it aside, and there are alternatives for it. And I find a lot of alternatives at Trader Joe's and Whole Foods.
Oh, yeah. So. And even Sprouts. I'm a big fan of Sprouts as well. So that when, because I think about things like if you look at the typical waffle, like the frozen waffle, and you look at all the ingredients in that and you go, holy Christmas.
Right.
This isn't going to work. But there are alternatives.
There are alternatives. I have to be honest, as I did this journey, I shopped less and less at the conventional grocery stores.
Yeah.
And I steered more towards the Trader Joe's, the Sprouts, the Whole Foods. And you can find what you need. And then I think maybe once a month I went to my local grocery store.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting, though. I hadn't been to usually if my husband is going to go to the regular store, I have him get the couple of things that I need from the regular store. So I had not been in a regular store for probably a year. Right. And I went in the other day and I was amazed because I mentioned before that I had to get off of milk. I'm amazed at the organic tofu products that are in conventional grocery stores. Right. Like there's a bigger variety than there is sometimes in the other specialty stores, which who would have thought that? Right. So I think they're taking steps in the right direction. And the organic produce section was bigger than I remembered it being a year ago. So
just hopefully. That they have organic now is amazing to me. Yeah. But just shop the perimeters, and that means you're going over to the produce and the dairy, and you're not going down the main aisles where they have all of the prepacked conventional foods with all those ingredients.
Yeah, that's the stuff. If it has a huge shelf life, you got to ask yourself a question.
There's a reason for that.
Yeah. And bread is not supposed to stay fresh for 3 months.
No.
It isn't.
It isn't. Now, if you had 2 growing boys like I do, you can't even keep a loaf of bread in your house half of a week. So I don't run into that problem. But the bread I buy has 0 preservatives in it. And the next thing would be to clean up the fluids that they're drinking. If they're drinking a ton of dairy and a ton of juices, they need water. And a lot of people will say, well, my kid doesn't like the taste of water because it doesn't have a taste. So you dilute the juice, maybe 25% water, 75% juice, and then gradually make that dilution more water. Right. And then throw in a bottle of water or a cup of water every now and then for them when they're thirsty. Their body will crave it eventually.
Yeah. Especially, it's interesting how this all feeds on itself. My husband, who I love dearly, is... usually my child is easier to get to try a vegetable than my husband is. So I always use the litmus test, can I get my husband to do this? And it's very interesting because when I get rid of all the other stuff out of his diet, he'll eat an apple and he'll go, oh my gosh, this tastes so good. How can this taste so good? How could this not have been in my diet for so long? But once you get rid of the artificial colors and flavors, it's amazing how much better things like water taste. Right. It sounds weird, but I found it to be very true.
Right, because the artificial ingredients are definitely affecting your taste buds and how your chemical messengers in your brain are responding to that food. Once you start eliminating it and giving it whole, real foods, the wisdom of the body takes over, and it will crave those foods and the waters. The sports drinks, I think, are by far the worst because they don't hydrate. Yeah. They just add a lot of sugars, which dehydrate your body.
Yeah. And there's other things that you can put in the water. I just saw, we both love Jamie Oliver, and I just saw a Pinterest pin of him holding flavored water jugs, and I think one of them had like 5 raspberries in the bottom, and the other one had some cucumber in the bottom of it, cucumber and lemon, which can actually add some zip to the flavor of the water. It helps to alkalize the water and is good for you with a little bit of flavor. So you can get creative and inventive.
You can.
Okay, so getting rid of the artificial flavors and colors first, and that sometimes
and preservatives.
Yeah, and you advocate going slow or cold turkeying.
If they are so addicted to a particular snack every day, you can start out slow and replace that snack every other day. Okay. It depends on your child. If your child is good with change, then you take it out.
Right.
If it's not, then you're going to have to get that child used to it. I taught my children to read the labels.
Yeah, that's important.
And that helps them shop with you. And then they are more committed to what you're buying.
Yeah, I think, was it you that I was having the conversation the other day, or was it somebody else that Jem will, if somebody offers him something, he says, the first thing he says is, does it have gluten in it? Like, he knows to do that. Then he knows to ask, does it have sugar in it? But somebody was saying that their child was someplace, I don't think it was you, that they were saying, does that have any GMO? Was that GMO? Is it non-GMO? And I went, oh my gosh, I haven't even broached that subject with him.
GMOs
Okay.
yet. He does ask if it has artificial. He'll know. Look at it. Go. That has artificial colors.
Too funny. All right, I think we should take another break, and then we're going to come back and talk about some other things after you've gotten the artificial colors and flavors out, because there's more that you can do, and you think of it sort of as a stair step to getting your child really healthy, cleaning up your child's diet. More with Joanne Aller after these messages.
My name is Rocky.
Autism used to affect 1 in every 10,000 children. Now it affects 1 in every 91 kids.
TACA is one of 5 organizations helping families living with autism today.
Our kids came back to life. There's a whole community out there, and now we're a part of it.
Oh, TACA has a place for me.
To find TACA, go to www.tacanow.org.
Please.
Welcome back to Autism Live. Our very special guest in the studio with us right now is Joanne Aller, a very good friend of mine, and I refer to her as the Biomed Mom because she's such a wealth of information. And we've been talking with you about cleaning up our child's diet, which seems overwhelming, but if you take it little steps at a time, it's something that you can make tremendous progress at getting your child healthier. So we started with this idea of taking out all the artificial colors, flavors, and preservatives. So that's the first thing that we can whittle down. And you were saying that there are some great alternatives that you can get a very comparable product, just healthier.
Right.
So it's not as if you're totally ripping the chicken nugget out of your child's hand and saying there are no more nuggets ever again.
Right. Or if they eat Pop-Tarts.
Right.
Naturopath organic pastries.
There we go.
Alternatives. So
okay.
Ideally, you want to eventually get them off of that sugar.
Right.
Because sugar is something you want to also start reducing.
Okay.
Because it feeds so many bad things in the intestinal tract.
And one of the ways that sort of feeds into some other things, one of the other ways that we can pare down on the sugar, and again, nobody's talking about cold turkey, and you got to do what's right for your family, but one way to pare down that sugar is to be giving other alternatives that are natural things like fruit, right?
Right.
And vegetables that are higher in
sugar like carrots.
Yeah, carrots and beets. Like I know you're all thinking, okay, like I'm going to get my child to eat a beet, but just slip it into things. Slip a beet into meatloaf, and I'm telling you, they never notice, and it makes it better. It sweetens up the meatloaf, and it's a fabulous thing.
Right.
I shred carrots and beets and put them in the meatloaf, man.
Shredding.
And my husband eats it too. There's the litmus test, right? Okay, so, but when we're starting to put more produce into the diet, we got to be careful about what kind of produce we put in, right?
Right. We want to make sure that you stay away from conventionally grown produce that has a high amount of pesticides in it.
Right.
I know a lot of families say, organic, I can't do that. I can't go 100% organic. It'll break me.
Well, not only that, like in some places you don't have access to it around the year. You know, maybe in the summer there's a great deal.
Right.
But in the winter, it's even here in Southern California, sometimes it's a challenge for me that I go, okay.
A lot of people will grow their own produce.
Yeah.
And then they will freeze it.
Yeah.
And they will have it in the winter. But the Environmental Working Group has a website. It's ewg.org.
Yes.
And they have the Dirty Dozen and the Clean 15 list.
Yes.
And that is what you should start with. Because it's true on the Dirty Dozen, and there are probably foods that your child eats a lot of, like apples and the berries. You just want, and the lettuce if they're eating salads.
Yeah. The big one for me that was on the Dirty Dozen was the peppers. And I was clinging to it, and Joanne was like, nah, it's like a really bad one, Shannon. It's a thin-skinned. It retains, if it's sprayed with pesticide, it retains it. But, you know, peppers are expensive to begin with, and then when you go to the organic, I just want to, like, break this over my head and go, But my child loves peppers, and those go to school with him most days. So, you know, we're growing them. You know, I haven't had a huge amount of success with that, but we've found ways to find them at different times of the year, and just sometimes we just don't have them.
Right.
And I'll tell you the other thing that's been really hard is finding it, because we get the red pepper hummus. And so then I have to switch to the organic red pepper hummus, which is pricier. But you make choices, and you say to yourself, okay, then we're not going to have this all the time. We'll get the red pepper hummus once a month and the regular hummus, every other week.
And it's also good to keep your diet rotated.
Yes, that's
the child, if they eat the same food every day, and their gut is not healthy, and it's got some damage, they will develop an allergy to those foods.
I think this is the neighborhood where I'm at, where I get into a rut. I change with the seasons, but within the seasons, it's like this is what we eat. I was so excited this week at the farmers market; they had the zucchini, but now I will eat zucchini every day for 5 months, and that's not a good choice, right? This is how Shannon became allergic to milk.
It's true. You need to rotate the diet for the child.
Yes, well, and for us as well. Okay.
But the pesticides are something that you definitely need to start reducing because of its known fact to cause digestive problems.
Yeah.
It definitely will do that. It also has research studies that it can contribute to ADHD.
Absolutely. If there was ever a doubt in our mind, a really conclusive study 2 years ago that came out that showed that a direct amount of lack of attention to the amount of pesticide that process through children's bodies. Organophosphates. And I'm telling you, you should read that study and do a little bit of research on it because it will change your mind. It changed my mind.
It changed yours. It was the first time that you actually read something and understood it so well. You explained it to me.
Joanne had been telling me, go organic. And I was like, when I go to the store and it's like within $1, the price difference, I will go organic. I was trying to do that. In my head, I was doing that for the environment, not for my environment and my child's environment, because I really didn't think that there was any difference health-wise for us. And then I read that study and realized that pesticides, I really am somebody who looks at words, and pesticide means that it's going to kill the pest, right? I assumed that that's what pesticides do and found out that no, in fact, what pesticides do is they create problems with the neurotransmitters on the bugs so that they can't eat anymore. It essentially causes them to have ADD. They can't. Their legs are twitching so much that they don't go seek food.
Yes,
and it affects neurotransmitters for people as well.
It does. And you felt better when you went organic.
I really did. I went through a detox period, but I felt much better, and I think I'm much more alert, and my autoimmune issues are much more manageable since I went organic. And I saw a difference in my child as well. So I'm very much in the organic camp. But again, the Dirty Dozen and the Clean 15, picking out, I will not tell you that everything we get is organic. And we go to the farmer's market, and there are many farmers that are there who they're not organic certified, but they're not using pesticides because it's a process, a really expensive, long process. So to me, I love it when it says organic, but if it doesn't say organic, if there's no pesticides. Have you seen this now? They have this new label that says no pesticide residue on stuff.
I haven't seen that.
There's a large store that sells things, and I've been dinging at them constantly to have more organic, and they had this one brand that said grown in America and no pesticides, and I was saying get more of that, and then they changed their label. It says no pesticide residue. Now that really makes you want to buy it, doesn't it?
Yeah.
That really sells itself, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's a technicality. They're just trying to get around.
I went, I don't think so.
No.
In any case, we got another question coming in, but what else besides organic?
If you want to go completely clean, then you want to look at GMOs, which are genetically modified organisms. And that's where they create seeds in the lab for certain plants, and they become genetically modified in their cell structure so that they can resist the chemical changes to the pesticides. They can produce pesticides themselves. It depends on how they make the lab animal, which is a seed. And they have had a lot of research, but no proven studies behind on how it affects our body and our immune function.
It's a very scary time.
It is.
The GMO thing.
It's like 90% of our corn, sugar beets, soy, canola oil are GMO, grown in the USA.
Yeah.
So if you go organic, it won't be.
Okay. I get a little overwhelmed when we start talking about GMOs because it really feels like we're fighting a losing battle.
It's
but it's
unknown.
important.
You don't know what you're eating.
We don't know what we're eating. Okay, we had a question come in about salt. They want to know, what are your thoughts about salt consumption while trying to clear up their system? My kid loves salt. Likes chips just to get the salt out. On occasion, we found her eating salt out of the salt jar. I asked the doctor, and they said it's behavioral, but this food reactions are somehow all connected. When somebody's craving salt, because we just had a conversation about this, myself and some people the other day, because I have been craving salt. Ever since I got rid of the milk, I've been craving salt. You do need a certain amount of salt.
You do, your body.
But when you're craving salt, you're deficient in something else, right?
Yeah, and that's a really good question.
Potassium, maybe? It might be something to be looked at.
It is, because I have not had that question addressed.
Okay.
Ever.
So, but obviously, I think sometimes when you take one thing out, you just want to go to something else because you're out of whack. But I would take a look at what else is going on, because if there's that, my brother was that way as a child too, that he would just get the salt shaker out, he would pour it on a table and then lick his finger and pick up the salt. He just craved it.
And I don't know if maybe part of it might have to do with a lack of zinc.
Could be.
Because the zinc, if there are taste buds, they need that strong salty taste to get that flavor in their mouth. If your taste buds, you don't have enough zinc, your taste buds will definitely diminish, and you don't crave certain foods.
And we should say that, you're talking about your child, and neither one of us are doctors. You're a Sears health coach, but we're not giving specific advice. But I'm wondering what I've had to do for myself, because I got to get rid of the salt. It's raising the blood pressure. Good. Is that I'm now squeezing lemon juice on everything. It alkalizes, and I up my water. I wonder if you just make something that you normally make for your child that they would want a bunch of salt, and try some lemon juice on it, and see what happens then. See if that does it for her, and then write back to us and let us know.
Yeah.
Try a little lemon in her water, see if it kind of... I had to up my water, and I upped the lemon too, and now I'm not craving the salt.
Interesting.
Yeah, okay. So I don't know. Okay. We got another question, but we know we should keep doing it. Okay, I have an assessment with GGRC Golden Gate Regional Center. Okay, this is our dad from before. This Thursday, they told me it would take 120 days at least for services. I also have an IEP meeting on Wednesday concerning summer school at his pre-K. In the fall, we will attend elementary school with an aide and speech therapy in class. Like you said, I'm not sure that his aide is trained in behavioral intervention. How can I bring it up? Because my father instincts tell me they are not. Thanks, Autism Dad. Yeah. This is where we get into tough stuff, right?
Right.
And I would love to tell you that I have the definitive answer, but shucks, I don't, because it depends.
Tell you what I did.
Yeah, tell what you did.
It isn't always. It depends on the aid you're going to be given, but I would always give the teachers and the aide. My son only had an aide in preschool and kindergarten. I gave them information about his particular autism symptoms. I gave them a book about 10 things I wish my 10 things my child wishes you'd know about autism. I can't think of the exact name. I gave them information. I didn't wait for the school to educate them. I let them know. My son responds to loud noises.
Yeah.
So if you know a loud noise is coming, or things like that,
right.
You got to make sure that they have the headphones for the fire drills. Just things that you just don't want to assume the aide knows.
Sure. I'm going to be honest that I became very combative with my school district, and Joanne knows that really well. Joanne went through it with me, held my hand while I was screaming. So I wouldn't necessarily say that my way is the way to go unless you really don't mind that. It depends on the school district. I think it's always best to assume that you're going to get more with honey than with vinegar, but when the chips really are down, sometimes you got to fight for things. I always asked for the credentials of whoever was going to be in the classroom, and that was an uphill battle. I don't know that I ever really got that solved. In recent years, I have given the teachers, last year I gave CARD e-learning, this year I gave IBT trainings, which you can give very small trainings, and they're specific to the classroom, and sometimes they're $7.50 a piece, and you can give it and they own it and they can watch it again and again and again. I think it's really important that you visit the classroom as much as possible, that you not assume that they're doing it right, that you talk about in the IEP and in the BIP and the behavior intervention plan, that you make sure that you gave input about what the proper way is for them to correct your child when they're engaging in challenging behavior.
And if they have the IEP meeting, a lot of school districts don't want to have the aide in there because they have to pay them for that because they're hourly, but to try to get the aide in the IEP meeting to hear everything that is addressed.
Yeah. And one of the other things that we did, that we fought for and fought extensively, so don't think that it was a small thing, was that we fought for an aid to be provided by the Center for Autism and Related Disorders. So in the beginning, when our kids went to preschool together, our aide was from CARD. And then he trained the aide who took his place.
Which was fabulous.
It was fabulous.
But he can also ask the school district what training they get. I mean, we know what our school district gives, but maybe their school district gives them
Really?
extensive.
I don't know what our school district gives.
They give them 3 days worth
of what? And there we digress. There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. But in any case, so that's how I did it. That's how Joanne did it. It really is case by case. But if your dad instinct is saying something, follow it.
Right.
I always say, honor those instincts, because here's the icky that I really even hate saying this, is that they have a pool of aides and they're not all equal, and they're not all excited, and they're going to give the best aides to the squeakiest wheels. Oh, I feel terrible saying that. But you know what? You have to advocate for your child first, and then you can go back and help as many other children as you possibly can. But you have a responsibility to your child, and don't let them guilt you out of that.
Right.
Job number one for you, and you're already there. You get
Sounds
that,
like
right?
He gets it already.
But be the squeaky wheel.
Right.
Ask and say, hey, I'm not trying to be crabby here, but what training has this person had? What experience do they have?
Right.
How many years in the classroom? And a lot of schools try to keep you separate from your aide, but say, I have to meet this person. I'm not leaving somebody that's going to have this much influence with my child without me meeting them.
Right. And observe them. Be present in the classroom. Volunteer with the teacher.
I agree there. Volunteer. If you ask to come in and observe the aide, they're going to,
There's only so many hours you're allowed to do that.
Right.
So
but if you're volunteering in the classroom, you just happen to be seeing all kinds of things at the same time.
Right.
And there are some amazing aides out there. Some absolutely amazing aides. So, and people who want to learn more, they want to get better at what they're doing. And when you give them a training, they go, thank you. I want to know how to deal with your child.
Right.
And then there are other people. Anyway, we've gone way over already, but anything else on your list that before we have to let you go?
No, I think we covered the basics.
Okay. A lot to think about. A lot to think about.
Baby steps.
Absolutely.
Over the course of weeks or a month. You never do this overnight.
And think about, what are you doing now, and how could you incorporate some of these other things to clean up your child's diet? This is a great time of year to do it, too, right? Because now is when the produce is going to be there. The organic stuff is going to be there. Things are colorful right now. If you offer a child a piece of watermelon or a piece of candy, chances are that it's going to be at least a 50-50 shot, right?
Right.
And, you may not think that, but for my child's birthday, we bring watermelon into the classroom, and the kid, instead of a cupcake, and the kids all act like it's Christmas. They do. They're so excited. And by the way, we bring organic watermelons, and they taste better.
Oh, organic
they tastes
better. They have a lot more flavor.
Yeah. Absolutely. Thank you so much for coming and answering these questions and being here. We've got to have you back again. This was very fun. All right. We have to go to the A word. We're really late. Emily's going to kill me. But this was too much fun. So take a look. This is the A word, the ongoing documentary being made here at the Center for Autism and Related Disorders, following a little boy, Jack Riley, as he begins his early intensive behavioral intervention. So take a look at what the best therapy and the best circumstances looks like. It isn't all hearts and flowers and roses. Jack Riley has just had a new addition to his family, a baby sister, and some of it's going to be a little bit bumpy as he sorts out being an older brother. But watch how the therapists deal with it. This is the A word.
I know a cute little blue-eyed boy, and his name is Jack. Jack Riley. He got a big, warm, blue-eyed soul that makes your heart beat fast.
Hey, 2 seconds. Oh, yes. Hi. What's up? iPhone. Later.
Jack Riley is now gaining attention without prompts. When first teaching a new skill, a therapist does errorless learning, which is prompting a child with a correct response. 4 months ago, when gaining attention was taught, Jack Riley needed a gesture, physical, and vocal prompt to do it. As time progressed, less prompting was needed, like using only a gesture prompt or a partial vocal prompt.
Sure, which one do you want? Both.
Another skill they have been working on is categories. First, they teach it to him receptively.
Give me food. Where's the food? Good job.
Then they teach it to him expressively, first with prompts.
Tell me a furniture. Say Say a couch. A couch is a furniture. Furniture. Good. So tell me a furniture. Couch is a couch. Say couch is a furniture. Good. So tell me a furniture. Couch is furniture. Yeah.
And then without.
Tell me a food. Okay. Apple is food. Good. Tell me another food. Watermelon is food. Yay! Watermelon is a food. Come here. Oh, you're so smart.
Welcome back to Autism Live. That was the A Word, the ongoing documentary that you can watch on their YouTube channel and follow along. We're about in the middle of the series at this point where we're watching, but you can see everything through toilet training and him starting preschool by watching that on their YouTube channel. I just wanted to take a second. We've been talking with an autism dad about losing his services through Kaiser Permanente, and I see, Dad, where you wrote in thank you and that you'll keep tuning in. I also want to remind you, and all of us, because I know I've got an IEP coming up in 2 weeks too, that make sure that you request a couple of things. First, most important thing, and I know we all feel funny about it, but regardless of whether you plan on being combative or not, request to bring a tape recorder into the into the IEP. And I already wiped out which day you said that the IEP is happening, but in some school districts you have to have 48-hour advance notice and others only 24, and it has to be in writing. But an email counts. Our legal counsel here that we refer to often says that an email counts. So request it in writing. It means that they will also bring a tape recorder. It's going to mean a couple of different things. On your end, you want to make sure that you have your ducks in a row when you go to the IEP and that you don't over-emotionalize. You absolutely cannot get to the point where you yell at anybody at an IEP meeting if, and believe me, you know, we've all been there where we felt like it, right? But if it gets to that point, you have to say, can you excuse me for a minute? I need to take a phone call, or I need to go to the restroom, or just excuse me for a minute, right? You don't even have to tell them where you're going. But you cannot raise your voice or get, you know, aggressive, and you especially cannot do that if the tape recorder is playing. We've heard of people who have lost their suit when they went to due process because they have tape recording of them being verbally abusive to people in the room. So you want to be mindful of that. But what it also means is that no one is going to be verbally abusive or say inappropriate things to you about your child in that meeting. And I know that it's one of those things that you go, really? Do I actually have to have a tape recorder for that to happen? And yet I cannot tell you the number of times that parents have written in and said to me, this is what they said to me at the IEP, and I've gone, are you kidding me? Did you have a tape recorder for that? No. We felt funny about asking for the tape recorder. We didn't have access to a tape recorder. So don't feel funny about it. It's one of those things that it's make or break. You will ensure by having that there that you keep yourself composed and that they keep themselves composed. And if they don't, it's game over. You got what you asked for. I can't tell you how often mistakes are made in IEP meetings that somebody says something and it does again, I hate to say this, but it does mean that the parents will prevail. The child will get what they should have had to begin with. And as horrible and unreasonable as that is as a system, again, your job is to advocate for your child in this time period to the best of your ability without making yourself crazy. Hear that part, right? So tape recorder, absolute tape recorder. And also, I encourage everybody to ask for any written reports that are going to be presented at the IEP 48 hours in advance. They might tell you that they can't do it, but there's no harm in asking for it in writing. And if you do get the opportunity, then you know what's going to be said. I have asked for that since my son turned 3, and I have not felt like I've been hit by a Mack truck at a meeting, because there's some very surprising stuff when you read through. Before the first IEP that my son had was when he was 3, before we started ABA services, and we had been getting some early intervention from an organization, and it was basically, group setting and OT. And one of our OT therapists, we had said that we wanted our son to do ABA at home, and she wrote in her little report that A, it wasn't appropriate, B, that she didn't agree, and that she didn't think that I knew what I was talking about. And let me just tell you, because I had that 48 hours in advance, I was ready to go, I was prepared, went through my anger stage, right, knew exactly what to say this is completely inappropriate and unprofessional, and is not allowed in my child's IEP, because I don't, your opinion of what you think I know, right? But if I had seen that day of, oh my goodness, I would have been on the floor with high blood pressure and yelling at somebody. But I was able to go in and be composed and say, I'm sorry, this is completely unacceptable. And my son had ABA in the house. So just some things to keep in mind. Tape recorder, ask for it in writing, and the other component of it, ask for any, it doesn't hurt to ask. Sometimes they're going to say no, they don't have time, whatever, but it doesn't hurt to have asked in writing, and it kind of makes them look like they're not on it if they can't provide that. So I would encourage you to do that. And please, if you want to contact me personally, sometimes it's really hard. And there have been some of you who have contacted me. You can email me here at the show, s.penrod@autism-live, and we can have a conversation. I'm here to help and support. I don't want to make it harder for you, but to give you some different things to think about. I'm so thrilled, though, that you're meeting with the regional center to get some help and support. The 120 days is probably realistic. In the meantime, if it's just an issue of money, sometimes Act Today has emergency grants. You have to be able to prove that your child is at detriment safety-wise, and I don't know what's going on, but if your child is self-injurious, you might qualify for that. And then the other organization that we haven't really talked about on this show this week is the Jewish Free Loan Association, which gives interest-free loans to families who are dealing with special needs. So if you needed it just for the 120 days until you could get the regional center funding to kick in, and if that's something that you're interested in doing, it's a loan you have to pay back. And there is some extensive paperwork to get the loan, but we did that, and it does not matter what religion you are. My husband and I are not Jewish. They very happily gave us a loan, and were very sweet about it. And it took us, I think, 4 years to pay the loan back, but we did pay it back, and the money is there for somebody else. So Jewish Free Loan Association, you can Google them. And so for that 120-day, and the other suggestion, if you need to raise money for that 120-day to pay Kaiser the 50%, a fundraiser, a very quick fundraiser. You can do it online and say to people, hey, every buck helps. We're trying to make a difference with our child for the next 3 months as we figure this out. Don't be afraid to ask, because it's all about getting it done. And you're probably only looking at 120 days that you got to fill a gap here. And again, think of that gap insurance too. To see if that's something that you can do. Hey, you know what else too comes to mind is that with Kaiser, you have you can call the ombudsman and appeal. and ask why are they determining this, and put up a fight with Kaiser if they're not covering something. That might be something to do too. They have a patient ombudsman, and you can appeal to them. So something else to think of. But please keep us posted and let us know how that all goes. All right, we have to take a quick break, and then when we come back, we are going to be talking via Skype from Kids Companion. It's Pierre, I said I was going to get it wrong, Detremont. And she's going to say her name correctly because I know I just blew it. But anyway, she's going to be joining us via Skype, and we're going to talk about some really fun things for kids who have biting issues and have some other repetitive behaviors. So stick with us.
You say howdy, we say hi. Let's get rowdy, let's get wild. Let's get wild. Let's get wild.
Welcome back to Autism Live. I'm Lisa Ackerman with Taka. My guest here.
I am Jennifer Lucero with Taka.
Taka Mom's here in the house. Jeff saw on a TV commercial, they were making calzones, and he looked at me and goes, Mom, please make me that. Wait a minute, yeah, calzone, you can't have calzone. He goes, well, you make me pizza. Why don't we call it a pizzone? So we're going to do this ode to Jeff, pizzone. So I'm going to have Jen come on in.
All right.
You're on charge.
Ready.
We're going to add a little grapeseed oil, garlic, cut up chicken, finely cut up onion, and we're going to throw a little bit of basil. So we're going to just take about 5 minutes or so, saute up the chicken and all of the onions together. While Jen is slaving away at the stove, I'm going to make the pizza crust. A lot of gluten-free choices that you have out there for pizza crust. So I'm going to go ahead and start with the dry. Again, I'm using eggs. There are a lot of egg replacers on the Taka website. We have about a dozen different ways to replace eggs. So I'm going to go ahead and add my shortening. Calls for a little extra salt, which I'm going to put in here. And also add a little pepper. And we also have herbs de Provence that gives the crust a nice Italian flavor. Can't forget the apple cider vinegar, organic stuff, ready to go. Yes, I have all my ingredients. We're ready to rock with this mixer. And don't be afraid of dough. Dough doesn't bite. So here's what we'll be working with to make the pizzone. I'm ready to go. Let's get this party started. So what we're going to do next is roll out the dough. I like to be rolling in the dough, but we're going to roll out the dough instead. So let's go ahead and get started here with that. So again, you see me using the parchment paper all the time. Love this stuff. It's basically unbleached, ready to go. It's just going to make life a lot easier on your rolling pin. You don't need to coat it or anything, which is a lot easier. But I swear I should buy that by the gross ton. So the pizzones, this basically makes 2 big pizzones. I'm going to take half of the dough and roll it out. Half of the other dough will be for the other pizzone that we're going to make in just a little bit. So you want to do, you're not making a pie crust, you're kind of making a long oval shape. So we're going to try to make a shape where I'm going to basically roll this over with all the yummy fillings. And so any combination or variation thereof, this sauce, just real simple, is organic crushed tomatoes. I've added a little bit of salt and pepper and herbs de Provence in that as well, which I love. I like extra fresh basil. That's always yummy to have on your pizzone. And thank you. This turned out fantastic. So we're just basically building it the way that we want to eat it. Of course, my favorite rice-free, organic, dairy-free, soy-free cheese. It's going to pop out the sides.
Okay.
I'm not afraid of popping out the sides. So that's the beauty of the parchment paper. Once you're done, you just flip it over and peel it back. So I'm just taking a fork now and going around the edges. It looks so pretty.
It looks really nice.
So for 400 degrees, we're going to go for about 25 minutes. You want it golden brown. And because we cooked everything pretty much already, you're not worried about not having everything fully cooked. So look how cute those look.
Looks great.
There's 4 happy people right there. This weighs a ton. So let's go to the magic oven. Pull out our finished product. And voila!
Good.
Oh my gosh,
looks
this
beautiful.
is so yummy. There's nothing better than a little Jeff Ackerman pizzone. And this is going to be nuclear hot, but we'll go ahead and cut it open so you can. Oh my gosh, this is going to taste so good later on for your kids.
Yum.
Feedback, keep it coming. Thank you for helping Jen.
Thank you for having me.
And thank you for joining us. Come back to Autism Live. We'll keep doing allergy-friendly cooking classes. If you have any suggestions or things that you would like to see us make, bring it on. You can reach us at autismlive@gmail.com or Facebook.
Love the Facebook.
I know, too much for me. Facebook, so facebook.com/autismlive, or thousands of taco recipes ready to go. Basically go to Takanow, TACANOW.org. And we'll see you next time.
You say howdy, we say hi. Let's get rowdy, let's get wild. Let's get wild.
Welcome back to Autism Live. Very special guest joining us via Skype. I'm going to see if I can get her name right this time because I got it wrong last time. Pierrette D'Entremont. How'd I do?
That was very good.
Okay, but I just slaughtered it a few minutes ago. So, and Pierrette is with us from Kid Companions. All this month, we're featuring organizations that, businesses that have products that would be of interest to those of us who have individuals on the spectrum in our lives. And you were one of the first businesses that I thought of because we bought a necklace from you guys a couple of years ago when we were cycling through a period of time in which my son was going through a bitey phase. And so we want to talk about the necklaces, but I first want to know, Kid Companions, how did Kid Companions come about?
Kid Companions came about because of I'm a jeweler by trade, but also I took kinesiology in university, so I was working with like human development and stuff like that in a clinic, and I was breastfeeding my daughter, and my other daughter was just constantly wanting this little polymer pendant that I had made for the other one as a nursing necklace that I just made myself. And she just kept on taking it and wanting to chew on it. And I thought, wow, if she's doing this, and we know her, I mean, we knew she had issues and sensory issues and stuff, there's got to be others too.
Yeah.
So that is how it became, and she had it all the time. We've got pictures of her with it, so it was her companion, and that's how the word came up.
Well, and what I love is these are just so well thought out. Take us through, and I know you got a necklace there to show us. Take us through the different aspects, because you know what, I can tell that it's been designed by a mom because it just makes such amazing sense. But tell our viewers at home some of the different things that you put into this necklace so that it would make sense.
What we did at first is we knew that because it was going to be for children that we would have to follow a lot of rules. Mm-hmm. So the first thing that we did, this is one that's clear. I don't know if you can see it in there, but the inside is hard, and it's larger than choking hazard.
Okay.
So we wanted something that even if the child would bite, because it's almost impossible unless it's stone to make something that eventually will not wear and tear and have parts break off. But at least, you can't break off a part that's going to be very, very big. You can kind of chew on the sides and then tear at it, but the inside is hard and it's bigger than choking hazard.
Okay.
Obviously, we tested for materials to make sure that there was no phthalates or lead, all those things.
Right. It's totally non-toxic. That was one of the first things that when I was shopping around because there are different fidget things that kids can chew on, but I wanted something really, really functional. But one of the first things I was looking for was to make sure that it was completely non-toxic. And so yours is totally non-toxic, but you've got some other fun things on it too.
Mm-hmm. There's that because we wanted to have that part not look silly, we made a kind of a dot on it, which is a texture dot, and it's got our little logo heart on it. So if your child is fidgety, this little dot here tends to act as a fidget as well. They'll take it and just kind of play with it.
Yeah.
So there's a spot for your thumb too that's kind of exactly the right size for a thumb. Obviously, we didn't want the neck lace. I have Tourette syndrome. That was a tick. So
well, you know, and we have all kinds of things here. So thank you for sharing that with us, and you know, thrilled to know that. But that's totally fine. So you also took into consideration the necklace as well. Because I know I was concerned about if he's going to be wearing a necklace, what's the necklace going to be made out of? What if it goes in his mouth? And what if somebody on the playground pulls on the necklace? What's going to happen? But you have brilliant solutions to all of that.
We did. It took a little bit, but partly because I'm a jeweler and I know all the different kinds of leather and nylon and all kinds of things that you can put around your neck. I knew none of them would work. There's dye, there's black dye on the nylons you just can't put in your mouth, or shouldn't at least.
Yeah.
So first of all, we needed to find something that was cotton. I'm kind of an eco type person. These are recyclable as well. But
that's great.
The lanyard that we use is 100% organic, and we've sourced that in the U.S. So we buy that and make it here. We designed this little clasp, which is made out of also FDA-approved material like this, so they match. But this is called a breakaway, and if the child does get caught on something, it'll
love it.
It pops right off. And even though it sometimes feels a little light, as in you don't need to pull very hard, there is a law that says you can't have it. You can't have it less than 5 pounds, or sorry, more than 5 pounds. So when we tested it under 4 pounds.
Okay.
And that's how we designed it, just in case.
Okay. And I have to say, that was when I was completely sold and I ordered a necklace for my son. And you have them in different colors. And in different shapes. I mean, for the girls, they're those beautiful hearts. They really are a lovely piece of jewelry that anybody could wear. And they come in different colors. You can see them. But look at the ones that Emily's showing you on the end that are the sort of black and white ones with the other dots. So my son, I ordered the black one with the white dot. And it kind of looked sort of a yin and yang kind of thing. And it was when he was in 3rd grade, so that was last year, he went off to school with that, and everybody wanted one. Everybody was like, what is that fabulous necklace? I want one too. And these were all he's in a completely neurotypical school. They thought it was super duper cool. And the teacher loved it because we had started the methyl B12 shots, and he was chewing on his hands, and she was worried about that. He was chewing on his shirt. He was chewing on his pencil, and they were concerned about that. He'd chew on his paper, and she was concerned that he was going to bite one of the other children. We hadn't seen that behavior in him, but he had a need to chew. And on a certain level, we wanted him to be strengthening those muscles, right? So he was very happy. And what we did was he had the necklace and he could chew whenever. And then we gave him time periods in which he could chew. I would say that he only wore it for less than 6 months and it was phased out and we didn't have a problem anymore. But it got us through that very socially acceptably. Is that a word? But I imagine that there's lots of other different circumstances in which people want to use these necklaces. What are some of the things that your clients tell you why they want the necklace?
That has been somewhat of an interesting topic with us because we do get emails from people, often parents, explaining what they do with them. One person was wearing them and was using it as a fidget attached to their belt, and she found out that you could erase with them.
Oh, that's exciting.
Yes, so this girl would go to school, and she had the coolest eraser in the world. Her mom had to wash it every day, and it would get worn. But anyway, she did that. The children that bite their fingernails excessively, that we've seen very often. Sometimes adults that go to university and they just fidget a lot, have ADHD or are on the spectrum. They they wear it. Often we see the black one being chosen in that case.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I can imagine an adult male could wear that black one and just be cool.
Yeah, I've made my husband wear it out just to see if anyone would notice.
Uh-huh.
They don't seem to notice, if at all. If they notice, they don't say anything. So it's gonna be okay.
Yeah. And is there an age range for the necklaces that's appropriate? Are they only for the kids that are older, or could you also use this as a teething ring?
We recommend that it is for ages 3 and up.
Okay.
We've had it tested for the small parts, the choking hazard, and the lanyard is long enough for infants 0 to 18 months. Just to be safe, if it's to be used as a teether, we would say that an adult should be supervising the child.
I love that. But I kind of love that it's for older kids because, and they're kind of designed that way because a lot of times our kids combat, well, I don't want to do that because it's baby. And as I looked at some other kinds of things that my son could chew on, that's how they struck me. They struck me as baby. And your necklace struck me as being closer to teen or young adult. It was the cool factor.
Yeah.
I just love them. Look at how she's showing them again. They're just absolutely fabulous. And I love the hearts, that the hearts have the thumb on them. But am I correct in that there are dots on the back of the round ones?
Yeah, there's dots on them all.
Okay.
It's part of the pendant in the back, and we just say that it's really there to anchor the two parts together. They're fused together. But people just end up staring at them and making little faces, or making all kinds of things. But
Jem loved that part. He loved rubbing his thumb across those. He just thought that was fun. And
one thing we noticed. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
We have a clip version. I don't have one here, but we have a clip version, and we've noticed often that the teachers will say they're using the clip version and they're using the clip part as the fidget. It can make a little bit of a noise.
Okay.
Not a lot, just pick. But that we've noticed they're using it as a part of a fidget as well.
Well, I'm sitting here with a pen that I've clicked like 3 times since we started. I mean, there are some fidgets that we all have to be allowed. I think, and I've seen many top executives that sit there when they're thinking and they're going to town on the pen.
Yeah.
So the thing that I was remembering was that when they did the STAR testing for my son, that he sat there and while he was doing the test, he was thumbing the dots on the back of the necklace, and it helped him to focus. It gave him a way to be able to sit there for long periods of time, do the test, and keep himself quiet from other things, and it was absolutely silent. I just think what you're doing is great.
Thank you. We're working on another one.
Are you? What's the new one going to be?
We just have different shapes, and it's a one piece. Ooh. But I just saw this on the side because this is actually my test version. It's
very
just
cool.
Mangled. And my tester is my husband. That's who's testing it. So these are all kinds of different materials, still the same, but it's the same with this one. It just took a long time to test and make sure that it was working.
Well, it's truly fabulous. You got the puppy there. It's a theme here. I was saying that on Friday we had the editor of Autism Oz magazine from Australia, and he had his puppy in his shot too. We need to have puppies and kittens always. But so if people are watching and they want to know how to get these, how do they get one of these fabulous pieces of art that their child can use as a bite and as a fidget toy?
We have a website that is www.kidcompanions.com.
And Emily's got that on the screen for them as well so that they can see it as well. So wonderful. And phone call. Sorry. That's all right. That's okay. It's real life. We're live, and that's how it goes. And I'm going to let you go here in a second, but I want to encourage people to check out your website and to check out these lovely necklaces. Whenever somebody talks to me about having biting issues, I recommend that, of course, they find out what the function of the behavior is. But once they know what the function of the behavior is, these can often be just hugely useful, socially appropriate, giving a child the something appropriate to be able to bite on as opposed to the other alternatives. So I really thank you so much. It helped us through a really difficult period with my son very successfully and very social, with all of it being very socially appropriate. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, and we're going to let you go, but when you have your new product, make sure you let us know, and we'll have you back on to show it when it's all done.
Okay.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
I'm yelling to make sure that I reach to Canada. Anyway, so really thrilling if you've got a child that you want to buy a toy for. And by the way, kids don't have to be on the spectrum to be able to use these. All kids like to have sensory things. It's a beautiful piece of jewelry, and it has the added benefit that if they need to chew on something, this is safe for you to chew on. And I personally bought one of their products and used it and was thrilled with it. Absolutely thrilled. They look exactly how they looked in the picture, and was really, really delightful. Okay, we're going to take a break and come back with our stress tip of the week, so stick with us.
Hi guys, welcome back. For the month of May, I thought it'd be really neat if we made our own bird feeders. What's cool about it is once it's done and it's hung in your front yard, backyard, balcony, or whatever outdoor area that you have, your kids will be able to observe the bird feeder and tap when they see birds coming over and feeding from it. Like, oh my gosh, oh, so exciting. Do you see that? Sorry, I got distracted. I'm just so excited about all the different birds I've been seeing now that I have a bird feeder hanging outside. Anywho, let's get started. The materials you'll be needing are 2.5 cups of birdseed, half a cup of boiling water, 2 packets of unflavored gelatin, a spatula, twine, scissors, wax paper, and cookie cutters. Alright, now that you got your materials, it's super easy. I have my boiling hot half cup of water, and I'm going to take my 2 packets of unflavored gelatin, and I'm going to pour them in and stir it. The reason I pour it in the water first all by itself is to make sure that the gelatin dilutes really well, and I can stir it up real nicely. Now that it's been all stirred together, I'm going to take this liquid and pour it into the birdseed, making sure to scrape up all the gelatin that we diluted. Now I'm just going to stir it all up. Okay, now that this is all mixed up, I'm going to take my wax paper and put it on my table just so I don't make a mess. And then I'm going to take my cookie cutter and lay it down. I'm also going to take a piece of string and cut it, about 6 inches long. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill the cookie cutter halfway full with our birdseed mixture. And I'm going to take my string, fold it in half, I'm going to place it in the center. This way you can hang this up once it's done and dry. Okay, now that it's full, I'm just going to pack it in. So now that this is all compacted, it's going to take about 6 hours for the gelatin to get completely hard. If you take it out too soon, the whole thing's going to fall apart. So let's wait a little bit, and I'll see you guys in a few moments. All right, it's been 6 hours now, so let's see if this little guy worked out. So I'm just going to pull him up and pop him out, okay? And here's my finished bird feeder. All you have to do now is hang it outside and wait for all the great things you're gonna see. Like, oh, I see another bird. This is so exciting. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed the activity and keep me up to date with all the different birds that you and your child see outside your property. Until next time, craft on. Bye, guys.
Can you see me? Can you see me flying by your side?
Welcome back to Autism Live. Couple of quick things to take care of before we get to our stress tip of the week. When we were just finishing up with Pierrette, she wanted to remind everybody that if you are trying to order the necklaces from Kid Companions, you want to get the necklace, but you're in the UK or you're in Australia and you're finding it really difficult, apparently, because she's shipping from Canada, sometimes it's exorbitant shipping, that there's a retailer's button on their Kid Companion site. And so specifically if you're ordering from the UK or Australia, she said that you could get it much cheaper from a retailer because you're not paying the shipping. And she wanted to make sure that you guys knew that. So if you're in the UK or Australia, go to their website and don't order it directly from them. Go to the retailer. You're actually you find a retailer closer to you so that you won't have to pay the shipping from Canada. I love that she's given us a tip on how to save money on her product. How fabulous is that? The other thing that I want to say is the dad that we've been talking with on and off this morning. I want to remind you, you absolutely can get in contact with me if you want to. Either on the live feature, you can give me your phone number and then I can get back to you, or Emily has put up our email address. You can email me there and give me phone number or email so that we can be in contact. And absolutely would love an opportunity to talk with you. It sounds like you're doing an amazing job, but that you're in that frustrating part of it, man. And we have all been there, done that. And, you know, part of my mission first was to help my child, but then to turn around and help whoever I could. So if there's anything that I can do to help you on the journey, of course I want to do that. Okay, having said all that, it is time for our stress tip of the week, right? Because if your child is biting, that's stressful. And if you're getting ready for the IEP and you've just lost your funding, boy, that's the height of stress, right? And we know on this journey that we all have to manage our stress. So today I have one word for you, but many different applications for it. And it is, are you ready? Water. We talked about it a little bit earlier with Joanne Aller, how important it is for our kids to drink water and for us to be making sure that they're getting really good water. And that if we have to, we can start out by diluting juice. You know, we talk about this in other circumstances, that if we if we're trying to get our child to eat spinach, we put a little bit of spinach in with the chocolate brownie and then gradually we fade it out so that it's 50-50, and then eventually it's spinach with a little bit of chocolate, and then eventually it's just spinach, right? We can do the same thing with water. If you're having trouble drinking water because it doesn't taste good to you or you're not getting enough in, give yourself some incentives for it. Put a little something else in it for a period of time, but lessen it, right? It's so important that we drink water to be processing all of the toxins that we come in contact with. If you've got hormonal issues, and notice that, accusing myself here. Water helps to mitigate that, right? It helps us to sleep better. There are all kinds of statistics about, I know we get up in the middle of the night and have to go to the bathroom, but drinking a glass of water before you go to bed will lessen your chance of waking up with a headache. It also lessens your health hazards for a wide variety of things, from stroke to heart attack. So ingesting water, you don't want to go completely crazy and drink so much water that your body can't process it, but I think there are very few of us that could actually get to that point, right? So jazz up your water in whatever way you can, but there's another side to water too, that water is a great calming effect. And, it's the time of year, take a swim. If you're somebody who likes a hot tub, do a hot tub. If you've got a bathtub, taking a bath and taking the time to do that and soaking in water, you can put some Epsom salts in. If you do that, though, make sure that you drink a lot of water afterwards, because it's going to deplete your body of some things. It's going to deplete some toxins, but it'll deplete some other things that you need to have too, so you got to put them back in, the good stuff. Taking a shower. And I know we're all trying to conserve water and use it properly, but when you have to de-stress, taking the time to be in water in some way can be a very stress mitigating thing for you to do. And then, of course, there's water features. More and more people are putting them into their homes. We see them in businesses. The sound of trickling water, whether it's actual water or there are even devices that you can buy that do the sound of it, that there's something about it that for a lot of people, it reduces stress. If you see that it is causing anxiety in you, then maybe you're not in the majority there, that's okay. But making sure that you drink enough of it. And when times are really stressful, that, it's time to take a nice, good shower, whether that means a cool shower for you or a hot shower. But especially during the summer, we talk about exercise. Exercise is something that helps us to reduce stress. And being in water cools the body temperature down. It centers our breathing. Exercising in water is very good for your lung capacity, and it's really great for your joints. So you're not putting extra stress on your joints when you're exercising in the water. So water, water, water. If you're experiencing stress, find the way and drink yourself some water. We're very big fans of water here on the show, and I hope that you are too. But if you're feeling that stress, we've talked before, taking the 3 breaths, take the 3 breaths and take a big drink, slow drink of water. I will say too, we all like to have our cold water sometimes, and we like to have our hot water drinks, but drinking room temperature water is a really good thing to reduce stress. Really good thing. All right, so have at that water and keep that stress in a place where it's manageable. We're going to take a break and come back here to finish out the show and talk about a couple of things that we have going on throughout the week, so stick with us. Currently, in the United States, 1 in 88 children is affected by autism. 1 in 88 means something different when your child is the one. Recovery is possible. Hi, I'm Shannon Penrod, host of Autism Live, an online show about autism broadcast by CARD, the Center for Autism and Related Disorders. I'm also the mother of a child with autism, my beautiful son, Jem. You know our old joke, guess what?
Chicken butt.
Chicken butt. So we're going to take the chickens. But things weren't always so easy. I remember when Jem was first diagnosed with autism. I used to lay awake at night in bed and pray for someone or something that could help us to get our child back. My prayers were answered by Dr. Doreen Grandpichet and the Center for Autism and Related Disorders. CARD treats autism and other related disorders using the principles of ABA, Applied Behavior Analysis, which is the only scientifically proven effective treatment for autism. It is also recommended by the American Academy of Pediatrics and the U.S. Surgeon General. About a year after we started treatment with CARD, we were able to see tremendous improvement, and we got our child back.
What grade are you in?
2nd.
You are a smart cookie, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Do you like school?
Yeah.
Do you have any good friends?
Yeah, Oscar.
Oscar is your best friend?
Yeah.
And my child is just one of thousands to benefit from CARD ABA therapy. Across the nation and around the world, children are making amazing progress and being given the keys to unlock their full potential.
We are extremely grateful for the amazing job CARD has done in helping our daughter. Our daughter today, just in 4 months, I think is a totally different child than when she started with CARD. I kind of see it as, it seems like her brain in a way was asleep, and now that we've gotten so many services, we've seen her wake up.
It just has some gases.
Recovery is possible if you take the right steps, if you're willing to put in all the hard work. And 7.5 years, yeah, it's a lot of work. It's worth every little bit, and CARD's been there with us every step of the way.
I have 2 children with autism. I can't imagine a day without CARD or the therapists. They've been so instrumental in helping us with our kids and shaping their lives and helping us help them.
Thank you, Christy and Big Alex.
Thank you, Jackie and Mariana.
We've tried other things before ABA, but the most beneficial thing has been ABA services, and I'd be the first person to tell any newly diagnosed family that you have to contact an ABA provider, and if you're lucky enough to have CARD, you're very blessed.
Recovery from autism is absolutely a possibility. We've been recovering children for over 20 years. It's just a matter of identifying the child's medical needs, understanding the child's sensory issues, and then teaching the child all of the skills they need in order to function normally.
We know there's hope for autism. autism is treatable and recovery from autism is possible. Welcome back to Autism Live. Couple of quick reminders that we're calling May Autism Entrepreneurial Month, and we're featuring businesses that are either started by an individual who's on the autism spectrum or a family who has a child on the autism spectrum. They may or may not have anything to do with autism, but if you or your family is you're part of the autism community and you have a business, we'd love to feature you here. Why wouldn't we? And if on the other side of it, if you are a company that is making products that are beneficial to our individuals on the autism spectrum, we want to feature you as well. So and today you saw we had Kid Companions on, and a product that is very beneficial to our individuals on the spectrum and individuals that are not on the spectrum as well. So there aren't as many limits on this as you would think. So if you have a product or a business, the one thing that I will say that I said last week as well is that if it is a therapeutic thing and you're making claims that are therapeutic, please make sure that you have the science to back it up, because we only like to present things here that are scientifically proven to be effective if you're making therapeutic claims. If you're doing something, one of the perfect examples that I think of is that we love our friends over at Surfers Healing. We absolutely adore them and think that they are doing an incredible job. They take kids who are on the autism spectrum and they take them out into the ocean, and it's very gratifying for the kids. It's very reinforcing for them, and the kids do amazing things when they're out on the surfboards. And it's one of those things that comes under the heading of when I talk about when you do something with child that is very reinforcing to them, then you're going to get results because it's very reinforcing to them, right? I don't think that anybody would be making a claim about, surfing in and of itself without anything else, is going to help your child to be able to read. And nobody's saying that. But, when we do things that are really reinforcing with our kids, it grows their skills, right? So keep that in mind when you are sending off to us about products that you want or businesses that you want for us to showcase here. But we'd love to talk about the business that you have. So definitely want to talk about that. Also, that we've got some really exciting things coming up this week. Tomorrow, Evelyn Gould, who's a BCBA, will be back in the studio with us. We call that segment Making Room with Evelyn, and she answers your questions in real time and most specifically talks about the emotional experience for parents of kids on the autism spectrum. But she answers questions about therapy as well and has a great deal of experience working with children on the autism spectrum one-on-one. So wonderful to have her here tomorrow. Also on Wednesday, we have Dr. Doreen Grampachet, who's going to be here with us, and she answers your questions during Ask Dr. Doreen. And truly, I can't imagine that there is anyone more experienced than Dr. Grampachet who is donating their time in the way that she is to give you that hour of answering your questions. So keep those questions coming in. Last week, she broke down the DSM-5 criteria for autism for us. And if you have questions about that, if you've watched it now on podcast and you have questions, great to send them in ahead of time. Then on Thursday, we have Angela Persicki, who is also a board-certified behavior analyst. And on Friday, on Research Friday, we have Dr. Adele Nadowski and Dr. Jonathan Tarbox. Everybody is going to be talking a little bit about summer plans this week, and I wanted to take just a minute to put in my 2 cents of that at the beginning of the week here. That when we sit down with a calendar, whether it's a virtual calendar or a paper calendar, and say to ourselves, okay, I've got this many weeks with my children on the spectrum, off the spectrum, whatever. Here are the time constraints. This is what we have to do. Here's what I'd like to do. And think to ourselves, what's my goal for this summer? Do I want to set my child up for success? Do I want to work on this particular skill where my child is behind and I want to get them caught up? Have a list of, I like to think of 5 things that those are the things that I'm really going to work on for the summer. And I always like for one of them to be super duper fun and one of them to be super duper educational and get my child's feedback on what kind of things he wants to do. But to sit down with that calendar and plot things out, you can be really fluid with it and flexible with it. But I remember it was probably 4 years ago that I wanted my son, he had made so much social progress in school, and I wanted him to continue that social progress over the summer. It was really important to me, and it was really hard for me to schedule play dates. And I didn't have money to go and do crazy, events, right? So I looked, and we're here in Los Angeles. We live in the suburbs of Los Angeles, but I can get to Los Angeles fairly easily, as can his friends. So I shopped around to find out that in the summer, a lot of museums have free days. And in Los Angeles, a lot of it's Thursdays. So I created something called Thursdays with Jem. And I plotted out every Thursday across the 8 or 9 weeks of summer before they went back to school. And I sent it out to all the moms that I'd been saying, let's do a play date, and then never doing it, right? And I said to them, so, tell me which ones you want to go to. And I think all of them were free except for one, and I think it was under $1. So really important. And I said, this day we're going to the beach. This day we're going to this museum. This day we're going to that museum. And I had all this, nervousness, and people did write in and say, well, I'd like it better if this was this week or this was that week. And I said, sorry, I made the schedule. And if you're not able to join us, I'm so sorry, but try to come a different day, right? So that I just put it there, and we stuck to it fairly well. There were a couple of weeks that probably went out the window just because it was raining on the day we were supposed to go to the beach, whatever. But it was an amazing summer. And the way it worked out, we had 1 or 2 families come with us to each play date. We never ended up going someplace by ourselves, although that would have been okay. And I got some great pictures along the way. It was de-stressing for me to be with those other families, and my child got to build his social skills. So we're going to try to focus over the summer and find some things around Los Angeles. But I hope that you guys will write in and tell us the things that you're finding to do where you are, because it's so important to have a plan. We're about out of time, and Emily is, I don't know if you've already shown them, Emily, the different ways, there we go, to get in touch with us. We're going to leave the live feature live overnight so that you can continue to write in questions. But I hope that you'll participate with us. It's a lovely thing when you guys ask questions. It reminds us of the kinds of things that we need to be doing more segments on. And we have been promising to do a segment on funding, and the last couple of weeks we just have run out of time. So I know I've got to get a segment on funding coming up, perhaps on Friday of this week, because it changes every couple of weeks. So really important that we cover it, and it's different in different places around the country. But in any case, I thank you for being here with us. We'll be back tomorrow at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. That's 1 p.m. Eastern Time. Until then, please give your kiddos a hug from me. Bye-bye for now.